to you that there is a cardiac event in your future if you continue to put your mouth on men who are actually sent from God. I declare to you that the only place from which you will be able to call my name is a hospital bed if you do not watch what comes out of your mouth concerning God's servant, that you may know.
Child, y'all get in here because the preachers have gone wild. Let's get into what's going on in this here church. So first of all, let me start off by saying this is why I cannot stand election years. This particular election really have people losing their minds and exposing them for who they really are while relationships get destroyed. I've never seen the Black and Christian community so torn over an election. In the past, we know mostly whites voted Republicans and mostly blacks voted for Democrat. Well, this year, we've seen a lot of Black people were extremely turned off by Kamala Harris and wanted to swing it with the red this year. I absolutely do not care about anyone's political views. If you want to vote for Trump, that's cool. If you want to vote for Harris, that's cool too. If you don't want to vote at all, that's fine. That's your right. But what's not fine is the belittling, the name calling, and the high-tempered emotions over a person that can't even save your soul. That's absolutely crazy to me. We, the citizens of the United States, can exercise our constitutional rights however we see fit. And we should not, in whatever way you choose to vote, be ridiculed for our decisions as long as we vote in our best interest. What may be very important to me that shapes my choice of who I believe should be president, you may not care anything about that, child. You could be like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I could not care less. And that's literally what it comes down to. I understand why people are voting for Harris. I understand why people are voting for Trump. And I understand why some people are choosing not to vote at all this year. It would be ideal if we had a candidate where we could have the both of best qualities put into one. But that's fantasy and we live in the real world. So now let's get into it. So this all started at one of Kamala Harris's rally where two young men were shouting. One of them shouted, "Jesus is Lord," and the other one was shouting, "Lies, lies," or calling her a liar. There have been mixed reviews about exactly who she was speaking to since the media did try to bury this footage. It is not a lot out there. But one of the guys came forward who actually shouted, "Jesus is Lord." He stated that he raised his cross up and he looked at Kamala and Kamala looked at him and acknowledged him 25 yards away, meaning she was speaking directly to him and saying, "You guys are at the wrong rally." This rubbed a lot of in-tune Christians the wrong way. A lot of pastors and others called her out on this, not just Bishop McClendon. Now, there is a pastor whom a friend introduced me to his ministry by the name of Apostle A.R. Williams. He also has very strong feelings against the Democratic Party, but he does it in a way that is firm yet respectful. Even if you are pro-Kamala, you cannot deny the facts that he presented. His teachings can be digested without being very, very offensive. If you are offended, it's because you're choosing to be offended. He does not go out of his way to demean anyone for their decisions. He just gives another point of view. So this lets me know that political stances in the church can be made respectfully. Now, we know 2 weeks ago that Kamala Harris made an appearance to New Birth, pastored by the controversial man himself, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Now, I am not sure this is what triggered these comments, but let's just say it probably did spray a little piece of fuel on that fire.
No, she was addressing them both. She heard someone call her a liar. She heard someone say Jesus is Lord. And she says, you all are at the wrong rally. And then she says, you need to go to the smaller one down the street. Well, let me tell you something, my sister. You need to watch how you deal with God's people in this hour. Because just because you get elected, if you do, doesn't mean you'll last. God is still the God of heaven. And the God, that's not a threat. I'm a prophet. God will do certain things to silence the mouth of mockers. So you sell your vote for welfare programs, stimulus packages, housing promises, even if the candidates are against your Christian values and your Judeo-Christian ethic, and then you have the nerve to stand in a pulpit and call yourself a child of God. No, you're not. You're not a man of God. You're a preaching pimp. Selling your people for the latest trick.
Again, he is well within his right to feel how he feels about the election and the candidates. But where it got ugly and disrespectful is where you called pastor pimps based solely on their political views. And here is where you lost credibility. Now, if a pastor's a whore, he's a whore. If he's a scam artist, he's a scam artist. If he's a false prophet, he's a false prophet. But stick with the facts. You can't call someone a pimp because they vote against how you feel like that they should vote. Now, this is where it gets a little bit messier. Child, Roland Martin entered the chat, and in good old Roland Martin fashion, he went in and let's have.
So let me tell you what y'all just heard. You just heard a preaching pimp. You just heard somebody have the audacity to try to call out Vice President Kamala Harris and her Christian faith, yet Bishop Clarence McClendon, who stood up there with his S-curl, and he said nothing about the lies of Donald Trump. He said nothing about Donald Trump cheating on multiple wives, sleeping with a porn star for one of them as well. He said nothing about the comments that he's made against people. Please show me how that somehow is representing the Christian faith. Talk to me about somebody who has consistently degraded and shamed people and treated them with bad behavior. You didn't hear Bishop Clarence McClendon say a word about Donald Trump, who has cheated small businesses out of their money. You didn't hear him say anything about how he has mistreated people, how he has called folk out of their...
Child, this man had me done at S-curl. This is so messy, but it continues. So Bishop Paul Morton Sr. entered the chat as well by responding to Bishop McClendon's soapbox rant with a tweet. I disagree with Bishop McClendon. He left Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship 10 years ago. Luke 6:45. A good man from his heart brings forth that which is good. An evil man, evil fruit. Decency and character must be at the top of our agenda. Like God, I look at the heart first. Vice President has a good heart. Trump, an evil one. Now, I am not exactly sure what about this tweet set Bishop McClendon off. I did not find anything wrong with this tweet. It is a man who gave his opinion on a public platform regarding a topic where everyone has their opinion. On what? Social media. Regardless of their relationship or their past relationship, this did not warrant a 17-minute rant in the pulpit. I am not going to play the entire video, but I am going to get to the gist of what he said.
Paul S. Morton went to the public in social media and addressed something concerning me. And this is a man that I respect and a man for a season that I served. So he took it upon himself to make a post concerning me. And I know Bishop Morton, he's a man of peace. He's not a man who seeks out confrontation. And so I discerned that if he felt he needed to say something, it was because people in his camp were coming to him saying, oh, what are you going to do about McClendon and what he is saying? So let me put up the post. Put it up.
Okay, so two things. Bishop McClendon, if you admitted that Bishop Morton is a man of peace and he does not seek confrontation, why did his tweet get you so riled up if you knew that that was not his intention to create or cause any type of drama? And the way you sat up there and created a whole scenario in your head about somebody putting a battery in his back to say whatever he said in his tweet, you don't even know if that happened. Now, you just made it up in your mind because it made sense to you, and then you just went out there and blurted it out. Absolutely nobody told you that this happened, but go off.
Let me put it up so you can see what he said. This is Bishop Paul S. Morton. I disagree with Bishop McClendon. Now, I don't know what he's disagreeing with because I don't know what I said.
You don't. You really don't recall saying what you said that could have been very offensive to real gospel preachers. You have no clue what he's talking about. If you didn't know what he was talking about, why the rant? Why the rant? No offense, but he took about 40 days and 40 nights to read this tweet, so we're just going to bypass it because we already read it.
I have not worn a MAGA hat. I have not been at any of the rallies. You don't see me anywhere introducing anybody. I have simply vocalized who I am not voting for and the reasons that I am not voting for Mrs. Harris. So, Bishop Paul S. Morton, as I said, he's a man that I respect, yet he was not then at the time that I served him, nor is he now a spiritual father to me. He had episcopal paternity, meaning he was the man who recommended me for the bishopric, but never spiritual paternity to me or my ministry. When I left his fellowship, we parted in mutual respect. Therefore, if the bishop had any issues with me, he certainly could, and I believe should, have reached out to me personally and said so. Or at least in episcopal protocol, to let me know that he felt led to speak out in relation to what he perceived me to have said, because he doesn't know what I said.
Sir, once again, no one owes you a phone call over a simplistic tweet that disagreed with you. And secondly, he knows what you said, and we all know what you said. I mean, did you forget that this was recorded and uploaded?
He did not do that. So since he chose to speak publicly, I shall in turn address his statement in the forum that he chose. I will remind you, Bishop Morton, that when you asked me to join your fellowship, I already had a congregation of over 10,000 people in weekly attendance in a church where I was preaching 5 services a Sunday. I had a national and international global television ministry with a reach at that time beyond your own.
Now, Bishop, exactly what does this have to do with the price of tea in China? You got up there and listed your resume, your accomplishments and accolades for what reason? For what reason? And that's all fine and well if that's what you felt led to do. But putting something at the end of the sentence, like far beyond the reach of your own, baby, that's called shade. You're being very shady and very messy. Then he goes on to ranting about 5 to 6 minutes more about getting it out the mud and how he built his empire and what an amazing job he did, and kudos to him. So we're just going to skip all that because, child, I don't really care. So then he turns his attention to Roland Martin, and it just gets shadier and messier.
Very quickly, for this guy. I'm not going to call his name, but for this guy, you see him. This guy is a joke. He has been confined to the dungeon of political and social discourse since he was ejected from CNN for running his mouth when he should have kept it quiet and giving his opinion on things when he should have kept his mouth shut. He clearly did not learn his lesson there. So now he spews his irrelevant venom, hoping his hearers are as uninformed and bewitched as he is, so that his drivel might have some impact. But on November the 6th, he will again be as irrelevant as the day he decided to put my name in his mouth. No serious news source takes him seriously, nor do I. Now I know why his jumbo-sized panties were in a bunch. Because I have spoken by the Spirit of God against that spirit.
Jumbo-sized panties in a bunch? Y'all, this is a man of God in the pulpit saying these things while his people are cheering him on. I am floored. You and Roland Martin are not on the same level. You are a bishop. Some things you have to just step over. I'm sorry. And it is the same way Bishop Morton handled you, by simply saying the judgment comes with the territory. And I'm not offended. Oh, I mean, whatever happened to Kuth?
And that spirit does not like to be ejected. But I say in the name of Jesus, Rolly, keep talking. That you may know that there's a prophet in the land, I urge you very seriously to go see your physician. You are already dealing with extremely high blood pressure, and the medication that you have taken has not done anything for it. And I declare that there is a prophet in the land. Because there's no way I would know these things except the Spirit of God show them to me. And you can lie and say it isn't true, but the day will declare it, and God will judge between you and I which one of us be truth teller and which one of us be idiot.
I absolutely have no words what we just sat here and heard. This is a man of God talking like this. You know what? I can expect this from everybody else in the rest of the world, but a man of God to sit there in his pulpit screaming and shouting like a toddler because you're upset. You have been in ministry for decades, and people have said much worse than this about you. And I mean much worse. Okay? And if people who know, you know. Okay? If you've been in church world for a while, if you know, you know. So I'm not understanding why the low blows, why speaking on someone's health that God, first of all, I don't think God told you about nobody's health, and ain't nobody came to you and asked you nothing. And I don't think God is backing you speaking illness over somebody else's life because they talked about you, because you got your feelings hurt. This man is emotional, and he is dangerous. And this is why I said this is confusion in God's house. Can you imagine somebody who is just now starting to learn about the Christian faith, or somebody who hasn't been in church for a long time due to church hurt or whatever it is they fell off? They decided to tune in one day, or decided to stop in or stop by his church, or they're coming from somewhere of violence and witchcraft and just a very toxic background. And they come into church and listen to this, spewing hate, speaking illness over somebody's life. Do you know how confusing that is to someone? And we all know who the author of confusion is. And that's why I said confusion in God's house is absolutely crazy. And this was no place. Like, I can even somewhat give him a pass if he decided to have a podcast or do this in his office or at home going live. I could give him somewhat of a pass, but to stand in God's house and do this with a microphone, blasting this to millions of people, is absolutely irresponsible. And God is going to deal with everybody involved. Believe you me, even me for being messy. So let's go ahead and get into the responses that we heard from Larry Reed Live. Dietrich Haddon gave his opinions about the situation, and we also got to hear from Bishop Morton, as Larry Reed was so messy, decided to call them on his platform. So let's go ahead and take a listen to these responses.
And I don't think the church should be carrying on this way. We don't need that. There's so much going on right now, and we just don't need all this extra coming from somebody's pulpit going against another preacher. But I'm going to tell you, I tried to tell y'all on the show. I tried to tell y'all. Now everybody's learning what I know. It's just the arrogance is on. It's a whole nother level. It's like next level arrogance. When I think it can't go no higher, get no crazier. Some kind of way he digs down deep and find a new level of arrogance. Nobody cares what you did back in the day and nobody cares. You cannot disrespect all preachers that are supporting Kamala Harris and call them pimp preachers And then when they turn around and handle you, when Roland Martin deals with you, now you want to curse him. That ain't no curse. That's a whole, just it went nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a person that can dish it but can't take it. And that's what I see. Speak the truth, that you'll be even persecuted for righteousness' sake. So that comes with my job. So I don't want anybody to worry about me. I receive so many calls and texts and people concerned. Listen, I'm trusting God and believing God. I just believe the Bible, when the word of God says, if something is done publicly that is wrong, you rebuke publicly. And I believe that with all of my heart, because if not, then the church loses its real identification. We don't want to be known as a place where anything goes and you can say anything and blame it on the Lord. So I'm just a true kingdom representative. And I thank you, Brother Reed, for this time, just for allowing me to share so that I can let people know, hey, this is where I stand and always will stand.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And they're going crazy in the chat. We love you. We love you. It's about 5,000 people. I know you used to speaking to more people.
Go ahead now. Appreciate you
All
so
right.
much.
Okay.
Well, y'all, that's my shift. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about this election regarding relationships with friends or church members, co-workers, and let me know what you feel about this whole situation and everything playing out, in the church. As of right now, do me a favor, go ahead and click that like button and go ahead and lean on that subscribe button. Y'all have a good one.